history of this remarkable rivalry between these two. And so, Alan, as we look at a moment like that for Tyrese Haliburton, a player who his peers voted him as one of the most overrated players. Jay Williams said this morning he might be the most underrated player in these playoffs, and frankly, that's a moment that'll live forever.
What you also love is he's aware of the history, too. Like, he talked about watching Winning Time, the 30 for 30, about that series, about Reggie Miller. He has watched all that stuff, and so he understands that moment, obviously going right to the choke sign and pointing right to Reggie Miller, who was courtside calling it. You know, that is all part of the story, and we talked about this before going into the series. The fourth time they met in the conference finals, ties for the most meetings, the history they have had, these moments that you keep talking about. And keep in mind, too, that the choke game was a game 5. They ended up winning that series, of course.
Right.
But the 8 points in 9 seconds was a game 1 at the Garden that flipped that series. The Knicks lost that series.
I mean, the fact that 20 years later, Reggie Miller will be calling the game, and that would happen again. The irony, come on. This to me feels worse than that. That almost felt like a kill shot with Reggie Miller because it happened so fast. You're almost like, what the hell just happened?
Yep.
This one was like, oh, you know this person is going to pass away in the next 10 minutes. And you just have to sit there with them and watch it in real time. It felt more grueling in that capacity.
Especially in that building, because those people know the history and they were feeling it happen
The
again.
anxiety occurring throughout that process kept building.
Well, even the game 1, we've talked about it before, right? Almost 80% of the time, the team that wins game 1 wins the series.
That's right.
So in order for him to go out and make that shot that at the time we thought was going to win it, but send it to overtime, was huge. And even now impacts the series in a bigger way.
78% of the time, I believe, is the exact number of teams that win game 1 of a best of 7 go on to wind up winning that series. And so the adjustments that get made from this point forward, Monica, are fascinating. And you know the Knicks team as well as anybody does, and you've been around the Pacer team and you see it as well. We talked a lot about what the Knicks will do going from game 1 to game 2. Yeah. The Pacers now have an opportunity, and they know it, to absolutely, well, I don't want to say end the series, because with this teams you never know, but if they come into the Garden and they win both games, including tomorrow night, there's going to be a real chance this thing doesn't go much further.
Shout out to Himbo. Teams that drop game 1 and 2 when they're at home have survived and won the series 5 and 28. So 5 times 28 losses.
So you're saying there's a chance?
It's not great. So the Knicks obviously, there's a chance.
We, of course, just saw it with the Celtics and the Knicks in the previous series.
So the Knicks obviously are in a big-time position in terms of getting game 2. But to the point about the Pacers, going small down the stretch was a terrific move in terms of creating more spacing, but it wasn't as if Miles Turner had a poor game. He had 14 points. I mean, they obviously got productivity up and down their roster in terms of that being their signature in terms of how they play. I actually was intrigued by the free throw shooting because they shot 12 less free throws, but it didn't really matter. To them, to me, JB, in the fourth quarter, they just looked like the team that came alive. And even though Nesmith was on an all-time heater, I thought top to bottom, even Ben Shepherd, the 7 minutes that he gives you. Remember last year, Ben Shepherd couldn't do nothing defending Jalen Brunson in that series, and you could see the growth in terms of the experience that a year gives you.
Well, I think, it's not a knock on what Miles Turner was able to do, but I think they just got faster.
Correct.
And when you're down by as many points as they were, and you want to try to create an advantage, like you go back and watch that film, Obi Toppin's first 2 steps every offensive possession are at full speed. Siakam was the same way. So small and faster when you're trying to make up time as quickly as you can is what I thought they got when they put Obi Toppin and Siakam at the 4 and 5.
I just think one of the biggest things on display right now is the whole year we've been talking about Tibbs and depth, right? What does he do with that depth? And I think that's going to come into play here in this series.
Or lack thereof. 53 minutes in game 1. The Pacers steal it. We will have much more to do.
Hey, they was right there, but I got you.
The game
in game 6, game 7.
The game went awful long and went deep, and the dramatic postseason games in NBA history last night, the miracle comeback from Indiana. We've talked a lot about the emotion so far this morning. Now let's dive into the detail. Give me some X's and O's on how this incredible night broke down.
Well, the conversation we were having is who are your defensive traits when you're tired, and can you think with the cumulative effect of the pace in which Indiana plays with? So as you're going to see off the first play, just a little transition defense here. Now everybody's backpedaling, right, JB? You got OG, he's backpedaling. You got Cat, he's backpedaling. And you made attention of a detail that I think is really important.
Well, you see Tyrese Haliburton and Mikal Bridges there, right? Mikal Bridges understands how big of a threat Tyrese Haliburton is, even this far away from the floor. And the way the game is going, the most dangerous thing right now is the three-point shot. You got to have higher pickup points, more contact to eliminate the three-point shot.
All right, so look at the gap here between OG and Pascal, and then look at the gap here between Naismith and Karl Anthony Towns. And as the play develops, and you're going to see it in slow-mo. It's going to be a little bit of a DHO. And just watch how late of reaction time. Well, look how much space here that's going to be on the court for him to operate off a little catch-and-shoot situation off a DHO. Play goes. OG is so far down because of transition, attention to detail, right? Locking there or being tired. That's the 5th three that he made in a row. Attention to detail matters. Next play, you're going to see once again, off a little pin down in the corner. So pull out a little bit. I always think this is interesting because we're going to look at the situation here in the corner, okay? So this is Josh Hart in this particular situation. You have two choices as a defender, JB, right? If I'm guarding you on a side down, pin down, I can either chase you around the screen, which I'm trying to stay on your shoulder to force you to drive the ball, or I could take the shortcut, which is typically what you do when you get tired, right? You try to shoot the gap because you try to meet him.
Well, so understanding too, if I'm Josh Hart and the distance of the pass from Haliburton to Naismith, I do feel like I have time to get to him if I do take that shortcut and shoot the gap. But what I want to do when I shoot the gap is I want to send him back to the help. The big guy, Mitchell Robinson, Obi Toppin are there in the corner. I know that there's a presence there and he won't be able to get off an easy catch and shoot three. We give up the middle here. He gets that wide open three because there's no help, because Bridges is staying home with Haliburton to eliminate his three-point shot.
So if anything, you want to send him back into Mitchell Robinson here on the sideline in the baseline. You don't want to allow him to go middle. And what does he get? He gets a little bit off balance. He gets to the middle and another dagger for three. And here's the last play that I thought was really fascinating, guys. Just understanding in the game in overtime, attention to detail, staying down in the stance and not ball watching. Just pay attention to Josh Hart here. We talk about some of these guys logging over 40 minutes in a critical possession of the game. You're going to see a simple ball cut here off Nembhard. He's just going to kind of lackadaisically cut through. He's not a hard cut like he's cutting for the ball. He's just cutting through. And just watch Josh Hart standing up here. Comes off the ball screen up top. No ball pressure. Nembhard, he's able to make the pass here. Haliburton just cutting through. Caught ball watching. Easy lay.
If you hold it there, the thing that we were talking about, decisions that Rick Carlisle made, he made the decision to go small, right? Obi Toppin at the 5. Because Obi Toppin is spaced in this corner down here, Mitchell Robinson, whose responsibility normally is always protect the paint, but because there's a shooter there in the corner on the strong side, when Nembhard cuts, he doesn't go and help, and now that's why he's able to get a wide open layup as well.
So these are just the little play breakdowns that kind of led to the avalanche effect, right?
It's extraordinarily good by both of you guys, and an extraordinarily good look. I mean, these things, it's a huge flurry of comebacks, but it's just a ton of tiny little moments, and each one of those were necessary for a Pacers team to come all the way back. Let me once again put some numbers up on the screen for you. The Knicks were up 14 points with 3:44 left. ESPN analytics say at that moment, the Knicks have a 99.8% chance to win. 99.8%. Here were Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart after the game.
Can't really summarize it. Give them a lot of credit.